Michelangelo's David isn't just a sculpture. It's a declaration of human potential, a symbol of defiance, and a masterpiece that has captivated the world for centuries. Towering over Florence, Italy, this iconic work embodies the spirit of the Renaissance. This is the story of a sculpture that changed the world. Michelangelo Buonarroti's creative genius is legendary, and the David statue is arguably his most iconic work. But behind the marble figure lies an extraordinary journey of creative exploration. Michelangelo's approach to the David was not just about carving a figure out of marble, but rather about unleashing the spirit of a hero trapped within the stone. The story of David's creation begins with an already imperfect block of marble. Before Michelangelo took on the project, the block was rejected by several other artists who deemed it too flawed to work with. The block had been started by another sculptor, Agostino di Duccio, but it had been abandoned, and thus it lay discarded for many years. Michelangelo, however, saw potential in it. For him, the challenge was not just to carve a figure, but to reveal the form that was already hidden within. In his own words, Michelangelo said,
"The marble not yet carved is like the sunken secret of the stone. I saw the angel in the marble and carved until I set him free."
The first step in his process was to carefully study the proportions of the human body. He was fascinated by human anatomy and spent years studying it meticulously, including the dissection of cadavers. This allowed him to understand the intricacies of muscles, bones, and movement. David's anatomy, with its lifelike details, showcases Michelangelo's deep understanding of the human form. The technique Michelangelo used is known as contrapposto, a stance where the body is positioned with most of the weight on one leg, creating a naturalistic sense of movement. David's pose captures this perfectly, giving the impression of a young man ready to spring into action. His right arm is positioned to sling the stone at Goliath, but his stance implies that he is also contemplating the battle ahead. The tension in his body, the slight twist of his torso, and the energy in his gaze all combine to make the figure appear as if it is just about to leap into life. What is especially noteworthy about Michelangelo's David is his ability to sculpt muscle and bone with such precision that the statue almost feels alive. Every vein and muscle group are defined with remarkable accuracy, reflecting the artist's profound knowledge of anatomy. Even the statue's proportions are extraordinary. David's hands, for example, are notably large. Some scholars believe that this was intentional, as they are meant to symbolize strength, both physical and moral, while others view the larger-than-life hands as a visual cue to emphasize the courage and determination of the young hero. Michelangelo's mastery goes beyond mere technical skill. The David reflects his philosophical view of man's potential. By sculpting David, Michelangelo was also portraying the Renaissance ideals of humanism, the belief in the power and beauty of the human form, and in the human mind's ability to shape the world. In creating this masterpiece, Michelangelo was not just representing a biblical hero, but rather a figure that embodies the triumph of reason, spirit, and intellect over brute force. Michelangelo's David was not only a work of artistic genius, but also a powerful political symbol. To understand its significance, we must explore the context in which the statue was created. In the early 16th century, Florence was a republic, and its political identity was deeply entwined with the statue of David. The Florentines saw themselves as underdogs, constantly struggling against the might of larger powers like the papacy and the Kingdom of Spain. During this time, the David became a symbol of Florence's resilience and independence, much like the biblical David who faced the giant Goliath. When Michelangelo began working on the statue in 1501, Florence was facing political instability. The city had been under the rule of the Medici family, but by the time Michelangelo was commissioned to create the statue, the Medici had been temporarily ousted, and the Republic of Florence had been reestablished. The Florentines needed a symbol of strength and defiance to showcase their resolve in the face of external pressures. David, as a biblical figure, was already a symbol of courage and justice. However, in Michelangelo's rendering, He was no longer simply a young shepherd who defeated a giant. The statue represented the Florentine Republic, standing strong against the overwhelming forces of tyranny and oppression. The David statue was not just a religious symbol, but a political one as well, embodying the Republican ideals of freedom, independence, and self-determination. In fact, the decision to place David in front of the Palazzo Vecchio, Florence's town hall, was a deliberate one. The statue stood as a reminder to the Medici and other adversaries of Florence that the city was capable of standing up to tyranny. The symbolism was further emphasized by the fact that David was depicted before the battle with Goliath, poised and ready for action, a metaphor for Florence's own readiness to defend its freedom. As time passed, the symbolism of the David statue evolved. When the Medici family returned to power in 1512, David was moved from the Piazza della Signoria to the Galleria dell'Accademia in 1873, but its political significance remained. Today, the statue still stands as a symbol of individual courage and collective strength, a beacon of the enduring power of freedom and resistance. Michelangelo's David stands as a pinnacle of technical skill in the world of sculpture. The precision with which he carved the marble block is unparalleled, and the statue's anatomical realism remains a standard against which all other sculptures are judged. At the core of David's technical brilliance is Michelangelo's deep understanding of human anatomy. Michelangelo studied anatomy in great detail, and it's clear in the David statue. Every muscle, vein, and sinew are perfectly defined. Michelangelo utilized his extensive knowledge of the body to ensure the statue's naturalism, using the stone to capture the nuances of human form with extraordinary precision. One of the most striking features of David's anatomy is his muscular development. The arms and shoulders are heavily sculpted, showcasing a powerful and athletic form. The chest muscles are sculpted with remarkable detail, and even the legs and calves show a dynamic tension that suggests movement. The veins and tendons that run along the arms and legs are so finely carved that they appear almost lifelike. The veins in David's hands are particularly remarkable, highlighting the artist's ability to create a sense of tension and strength within the stone. The positioning of David's head is another crucial element of Michelangelo's technical achievement. The head is slightly turned and tilted back, giving the statue a contemplative, almost introspective expression. David's eyes are piercing and focused, creating a sense of mental readiness that complements his physical preparation for battle. His gaze is intense, full of concentration and determination, hinting at the internal struggle that precedes great feats of courage. The contrapposto pose, the weight-bearing leg shifted to one side, causing a natural twist in the body, creates an aura of life in the statue. Unlike static figures from earlier artistic periods, David seems poised for movement, as if he could spring into action at any moment. Michelangelo masterfully captures the tension and energy of a young man preparing for battle, making the statue seem alive, despite being carved from solid marble. Moreover, the sheer size and scale of the statue were revolutionary. Standing at 17 feet tall, the statue was designed to be seen from a distance. Yet upon closer inspection, every detail becomes evident, and the statue reveals its complexity. Michelangelo's decision to enlarge certain features, like David's hands, helps to emphasize the character's inner strength and resolve. The overall effect is one of harmony, balance, and intellectual rigor, showcasing the artist's command over the material and his ability to translate his ideas into the stone with stunning fidelity. Michelangelo's David was not only a monumental achievement in sculpture, but also a symbol of Florence's political and cultural identity. The journey of the statue from its creation to its current location at the Galleria dell'Accademia is a story that reflects both the shifting fortunes of the city and the evolving role of art in society. When Michelangelo's David was first completed in 1504, It was placed in the Piazza della Signoria, directly outside the Palazzo Vecchio, the seat of government in Florence. The choice of location was significant. At the time, Florence was a republic, and the statue became a symbol of the city's political resilience and independence. The David statue, with its youthful yet powerful image, embodied the spirit of Florence, facing external threats with courage and determination, just as the biblical David faced Goliath. The David's placement in the piazza served as a powerful political statement, a symbol of resistance and defiance in the face of greater powers. But the statue's journey didn't end there. Over the centuries, as the political landscape of Florence changed, so too did the statue's location. By 1873, Florence had become part of the Kingdom of Italy, and the statue's role as a political symbol of the Republic was no longer as relevant. To protect the statue from potential damage and to ensure its preservation, it was moved to the Galleria dell'Accademia, a museum dedicated to the works of renowned Italian artists. The statue was relocated inside a specially designed hall to protect it from the elements and to allow for a more controlled viewing environment. The relocation of the David was not without controversy. Some argued that moving the statue from its original location in the piazza diminished its political and symbolic significance. Yet others believed that the statue's new home in the museum allowed it to be more appreciated by a wider audience, including scholars, tourists, and art enthusiasts from around the world. Today, the David statue stands in a specially constructed, climate-controlled gallery at the Galleria dell'Accademia, where visitors can view it in all its glory. Though the political context of the statue has evolved, the image of David remains powerful and relevant. The statue has become a universal symbol of human achievement and individual strength, transcending the political context of its creation. In fact, over the centuries, David has come to represent not just the strength of Florence, but also the enduring power of the human spirit. The relocation of the statue also marked the beginning of its international fame. As tourism art, Michelangelo's genius and the statue's embodiment of Renaissance ideals had a lasting impact on art history and culture. Today, the David remains one of the most celebrated and recognizable sculptures in the world. As the centerpiece of the Galleria dell'Accademia, it continues to draw millions of visitors annually, captivating audiences with its remarkable technical mastery, its symbolic power, and its enduring relevance. The influence of Michelangelo's David extends far beyond the realm of sculpture. The statue is often considered the epitome of Renaissance humanism, the belief in the potential of human beings to achieve greatness through intellect, creativity, and effort. Michelangelo's interpretation of the biblical David had a profound impact not only on the visual arts, but also on philosophy, literature, and culture at large. Its influence can be traced through the works of countless artists and thinkers who followed in Michelangelo's footsteps. From the very moment it was completed, the David statue set a new standard for the depiction of the human body. Before Michelangelo, many sculptures of the human figure were static and rigid, following the traditions of earlier periods such as the Gothic era. However, Michelangelo's mastery of anatomy and his ability to imbue his figures with a sense of life and movement revolutionized the art world. David, with its dynamic pose and lifelike musculature, became the benchmark against which all subsequent depictions of the human form were measured. Throughout the Renaissance, Michelangelo's David was revered as a symbol of artistic achievement. Artists like Gian Lorenzo Bernini and Donatello were deeply influenced by Michelangelo's interpretation of the biblical hero. Bernini's later sculptures, especially his David, created in the 17th century, are often seen as a direct response to Michelangelo's masterpiece. Bernini's David, in contrast, is portrayed in action, in the midst of the battle with Goliath, but it is clear that he was inspired by Michelangelo's idealized form and muscular detail. Bernini's David fully embodies the spirit of the Baroque era. Unlike Michelangelo's serene and contemplative hero, Bernini's David is caught mid-action, poised in the heat of battle. Yet while the two statues differ greatly in their approach, It's undeniable that Bernini's David pays homage to the idealized form and meticulous detail of Michelangelo's masterpiece.
How could I not look to Michelangelo? His David is perfection, a benchmark for all who attempt the human form. But my task was different, to breathe life into stone, to capture not just a moment of thought, but the very heartbeat of action.
Whether this was truly Bernini's mindset or an interpretation shaped by history, one thing is certain. The influence of Michelangelo is evident. His serene strength finds echoes in Bernini's dynamic motion, demonstrating how great art inspires evolution rather than mere imitation. Bernini's David stands not as a shadow of Michelangelo's work, but as a bold continuation of the dialogue between human creativity and divine inspiration. In addition to influencing sculptors, Michelangelo's David had a lasting impact on painters, architects, and writers. The statue became a central reference in the study of the human form and served as inspiration for the depiction of heroic figures in literature and painting. Renaissance artists often used David's posture and proportions as a template for other human figures in their work, believing that the statue represented the idealized human body. The statue's influence extended well beyond the Renaissance. In the modern era, Michelangelo's David continued to inspire artists, architects, and even filmmakers. The image of David, especially in popular culture, has been reinterpreted and reimagined in various ways. Contemporary artists, such as Jeff Koons and Damien Hirst, have referenced the statue in their own works, using it as a symbol of power, beauty, and the fragility of the human condition. Michelangelo's David has also had a profound impact on architecture, particularly in the design of public monuments and public spaces. Architects throughout history have drawn inspiration from the statue's scale, proportions, and use of space. The David's placement in the Piazza della Signoria set the precedent for how monumental sculptures should be displayed in public spaces, where they could serve as powerful symbols for the city or state they represented. Beyond the visual arts, the David statue has also influenced philosophy and literature. The figure of David, standing strong and confident, has become a symbol of individual autonomy and human agency. Philosophers have used David as a metaphor for human strength and resilience, interpreting the statue as an allegory for the power of reason and intellect in overcoming adversity. Writers and poets have often invoked the image of David in their works, viewing him as an archetype of the hero who faces seemingly insurmountable odds, but emerges victorious through courage and intellect.
David is not merely a figure of triumph. He is a reminder that courage and intellect, when wielded together, can topple even the mightiest giants.
This interpretation frames Michelangelo's David as more than a biblical hero. He becomes a universal symbol of human potential, an embodiment of the belief that greatness arises from the mind and spirit, even in the face of overwhelming odds. Even in the modern era, the influence of Michelangelo's David is evident in political movements and social causes. The statue's image has been used in protests, especially in contexts where freedom and resistance to oppression are central themes. Just as the David of the Renaissance stood as a symbol of Florence's independence, today's version of David is invoked as a symbol of defiance against injustice and tyranny. Michelangelo's David is more than just a remarkable work of art. It is a living symbol of human achievement, resilience, and the power of the human spirit. From its creation during the Renaissance to its relocation and subsequent international fame, the statue has transcended its original political and religious context to become a timeless emblem of the human condition. As we reflect on the enduring legacy of Michelangelo's masterpiece, we are reminded of the artist's incredible vision and skill and the cultural and philosophical ideals that he embodied. The statue continues to inspire generations of artists, philosophers, politicians, and everyday people, urging them to reflect on the potential for greatness that lies within every individual. Whether viewed as a representation of Florence's political strength, a triumph of Renaissance art, or as a universal symbol of human strength and intellect, Michelangelo's David will undoubtedly continue to captivate and inspire audiences for centuries to come. Its place in art history is secure, But its legacy is far more than just that of a beautiful sculpture. It is a representation of the human quest for perfection, the eternal struggle for justice, and the belief that greatness is within all of us, waiting to be realized. Michelangelo's David is a sculpture that transcends time and space, embodying both the spirit of the Renaissance and the timeless aspirations of humanity. It serves as a testament to Michelangelo's genius and his understanding of the human form, and as a symbol of the resilience and courage that all humans are capable of. As we continue to admire and study this extraordinary work of art, we are reminded of the enduring power of creativity and the beauty that can emerge when the human spirit and intellect combine to create something truly magnificent.
Every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it.
But can we, like Michelangelo, find the courage to uncover the masterpiece hidden within each of us? Thanks for watching.